All right, y'all, welcome to our first video. We'll just jump right into it. The objective for this lesson is that students will be able to solve two-step equations with a variable on both sides. Before we dive into solving equations, we have to understand some key vocabulary. So I'm going to start with a variable. And if you're watching this is where you'd follow along in your notes. A variable is an unknown number represented by a symbol, usually a letter. Um, People tend to say, "Oh, I'm scared. There's numbers or there's letters in math now." These letters or variables just represent unknown numbers, right? So you might see an X or a Y. These are probably the two most common variables, but it could be really any symbol. It could be a C or a D, or it could be a Greek letter, right? It could be any type of symbol that just says, hey, this is a number, but we don't actually know the value yet. A coefficient is the number in front of a variable that represents multiplication. So let's say we have 2x, right? We have two parts to this little term. We have the variable, the x, and the 2, which is the coefficient. Now, this represents multiplication, so we're really thinking about this as 2 times x. We might have something like 4y. Again, we have a variable and a coefficient, and these mean multiplication. So this is 4 times y. And lastly, we're going to understand what a constant is. A constant is really just a number that doesn't have a variable. So it might be something like 8. That's a constant, right? That number 8 isn't changing. And so we'll start to see equations that look something like this. 2x plus 8 equals 10. All right? That's where we'll start. Well, if you understand the parts, it becomes a lot easier. So here we have the constant, right? This is a number by itself. There's no variable included. There's also another constant over here. All right. Here I have the variable, the symbol or letter that represents an unknown quantity. We don't know this value yet, but we could figure it out. And then lastly, we have the coefficient, the number next to the variable representing multiplication. So this really means 2 times x plus 8 equals 10. All right, let's get to it now. I'm going to go through two examples here. On example 1, just follow along. So we're going to look at this equation, 3x plus 5 equals 14. There is some number for x. There is some value for x that makes this equation true, that makes this side equal 14 and this side equal 14, so that they are equal, the same. Equal means the same. So we need to find that number. So to do that, we need to get the variable by itself. All right, we're trying to get rid of everything on this side of the equation so that we isolate the variable. And so to get rid of things, you have to do the opposite. That's in math. So this is, we have the constant here, all right? We'll always start by getting rid of the constant in these two-step equations. So to get rid of this constant of 5, or positive 5, I have to do the opposite of positive 5. What is the opposite of positive 5? Well, it's minus 5. So I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. All right, whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other. So I subtract 5 from both sides. A plus 5 and a negative 5 cancel out. You can imagine I walk forward 5 steps, and then I walk backwards 5 steps. That cancels out. I'm exactly where I started. So these cancel. And on this side, I'm left, the only thing is 3x. So I'm going to drop that down. All right, so now I have 14 minus 5. 14 minus 5 is 9. I apologize. It's not always going to be the neatest handwriting in these videos because it's a little hard to write on the computer. So I have 3x equals 9. And so now I have to get rid of my coefficient. I'm trying to get the variable by itself, right? We have constant, variable, coefficient on this side. To get rid of a coefficient, well, remember, coefficients represent multiplication. So to get rid of multiplication, I have to do the opposite. The opposite of multiplication is division. So now I'm going to divide each side by 3. These cancel out. So the only thing left on this side is x. 9 divided by 3 is 3. And I know that the value of x is 3. Now let me show you how we can check this real quick. So the value of x is 3. So if I now replace, x is no longer an unknown number to me. So I don't need a variable. Variables are for unknown numbers. I can replace it with a 3. So I could rewrite this equation right here as 3 times 3 plus 5 equals 14. That should be a true statement now that I've solved for the variable. 3 times 3 is 9. So this becomes 9 plus 5 equals 14. You don't need to write this check down. I'm just showing you how to check the work. And 9 plus 5 is 14. And so I get 14 equals 14. My answer is correct. So you can always check your answers here. All right. Let's go ahead and solve this next one. All right. I have 22 equals 6b minus 8. I have my constant here, my coefficient here, and my variable here. And so I'm going to start by getting rid of the constant on the side of the variable. We're always getting rid of the stuff that's on the same side of the variable. The goal is to isolate the variable. So to get rid of a minus 8 or a negative 8, I have to do the opposite. The opposite of a negative 8 is a positive 8. So I'm going to add 8 to both sides. These cancel out. So the only thing left on this side of the equation is 6b. And 22 plus 8 is 30. So I get 30 equals 6b. And again, I'm trying to get this variable by itself. So to get the variable by itself, I have to do the opposite. Well, coefficients represent multiplication. We can pretend there's a multiplication sign here, right? 6 times b. How do I get rid of multiplication? Division. Whoops. So divide by 6, divide by 6. These cancel. 30 divided by 6 is 5, and I get 5 equals b, because b is the only thing left on this side. Now, typically when I write my answer, I want the variable on the left side. So I'm going to rewrite this as b equals 5. All right? I'm not going to go through the check just so this video isn't too long, but you could check that answer by plugging the 5 back into this b. All right, let's keep moving along here. All right, you-dos. So you-dos is where you stop the video, try it on your own, and then I quickly go over it. So 3, 2, 1, pause your video. Okay, hopefully you just finished solving on your own and you're coming back to me. I go over you-dos quickly because hopefully you already got it on your own and I don't want to waste your time. I'm going to quickly identify the parts. I have a constant, a variable, and a coefficient. I'm going to get rid of the constant first. To get rid of a minus 4, I need to do a plus 4. These cancel out. The only thing left on this side is 5x. On this side, I have 16 plus 4 equals 20. I divide each side by 5 to get rid. Remember, coefficients represent multiplication, so to get rid of multiplication, I do division. And I get 20 divided by 5 is 4. X is equal to 4. Hopefully you got that on your own. All right, and the next one, 8c minus 7 equals 9. The variable's on this side, so I'm going to get rid of everything on this side. To get rid of the constant, which is a minus 7, I'm going to add 7 to each side. These cancel. I get 8c equals 16. 9 plus 7 is 16. Divide each side by 8. And I get c equals 16 divided by 8. All right. Hopefully you got this right. If not, maybe go back, rewatch until you understand. If you still don't understand, please see your teacher for coach class. All right, example 2. I threw in some negative numbers. Negative numbers will always be a part of math, and we shouldn't be scared of them. Hopefully you got pretty good at these in middle school. All right, so we're going to start by getting rid of the constant on this one. The constant is the plus 10 because it's by itself. To get rid of a plus 10, I subtract 10 from both sides. These cancel. I get 5b equals. Now, this is where you can be really good at solving equations, but if you don't have your arithmetic down, you're going to mess these problems up. Negative 30 minus 10. All right, let's think of this as a negative 30 and a negative 10. Well, if I owe Janaya $30 and I owe Aaliyah $10, right? How much do I owe total? I owe $40. And if you owe money, you're in the negatives. All right, so we can think about this as negative 40. Another way to kind of visualize this would be, all right, I'm at the ground. Negative 30 means I go 30 feet down. Now I'm at negative 30. And negative 10 means I go 10 more feet down. So now I'm at negative 40, right? So really make sure you have a good grasp on negative numbers. It's just going to be really helpful to making sure you're successful in your algebra class. All right, so now I have a one-step equation, right? I have a coefficient, a variable, and a constant on the other side. To get rid of a coefficient, since a coefficient represents multiplication, I have to do division. I divide each side by 5. I get b equals negative 40 divided by 5 is negative 8. B is equal to negative 8. All right, I'm going to move a little quicker since we do have a lot of these. All right, over here, I have the variable on this side. I want to get rid of a minus 5. To get rid of a minus 5, I add 5 to each side to get rid of the constant. Cancel out the constant on this side. 4 plus 5 is 9. Only thing left on this side is negative 3m. All right, now I divide each side by negative 3. Again, because why? Because this is a coefficient. Coefficients represent multiplication. This cancels. 9 divided by negative 3 is negative 3. And I get m is equal to negative 3. All right, last you-do coming up. Again, on the you-dos, you pause, solve, and then check your answer. So go ahead and 3, 2, 1, pause. Okay, I'm going to go over this quickly and we'll end this video. Hopefully you got both of these correct and you're feeling good. I'm going to identify the parts real quick. I have a constant, coefficient, variable. Get rid of the constant first. To get rid of a positive 8, I do a minus 8 to both sides. Negative 2j is the only thing left on this side. On this side, I have 6 minus 8. If I have $6, but I owe you 8, I've got to give you all 6 of my dollars, and then I still owe you 2 more, so it's going to be a negative 2 here. Another way to think about this is I'm 6 feet above the ground. All right, I'm 6 feet up. If I go down 8, now I'm 2 feet below the ground. All right, this ends with the division problem because the coefficients are multiplication. I divide by negative 2 on each side. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 is 1, and I get j is equal to 1. All right, let's clear this out. Last question. Again, I'll just go through it. Now you get it at this point. Subtract 8 from each side to get rid of a minus 8. These cancel. I get negative 3h equals 1 plus 8 is 9. Divide by negative 3 on each side, and I get h equals negative 3. All right, that is our lesson. If you don't understand, please go to Coach Class, and thank you for watching our first video.